Good morning, remote attendees. Doing a sound check. Brian Alston, can you hear me? I can. Excellent. Thank you so much.
for purposes of the members of the public, we will be starting in about 5 minutes. Meeting. Gonna call the meeting of the Cook County Health and Hospital Committee, Cook County Health and Hospital System Finance Committee to order. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Director Harrington,
Present.
Director Laurie,
Present.
Director Robinson is absent, Chair Ryder.
Ryder is here.
You do not have a quorum.
We do not have a quorum. It's our understanding that one of our committee members will be arriving soon, but we're going to go ahead and start taking reports for informational purposes, ones that do not necessarily require a vote. I am also, at that time, when we do have a quorum present in the room, we will be making a motion for Director Commissioner Lowry to participate in those votes. I do believe we could still, without a quorum, we could still take public comment, correct?
That's correct.
All right. Is there anyone available is there anyone here that's registered for public comment?
No, sir.
Has oral or has written comment been provided?
No.
Any virtual comment?
No registrations.
No registrations. Is there anyone in attendance today that would, members of the public that would like to provide public comment? Anyone? Anyone? Okay, does not appear that we have anyone for public comment today. On a more serious note, we all learned last week, and I know it's been addressed at other committees that have met within the last week, of the tragic passing of the late Commissioner Dr. Dennis Deere's wife, Barbara, and their son, Caleb. As you know, Commissioner Deere was a longtime member of this board. He, I believe, was a two-termer like me, came on right after Commissioner Butler passed away. And Dennis was a member of this committee. He was a strong advocate for the work that's done both here at the hospital and the county health department. Dennis championed several causes that are important to the residents of Cook County that are in part deployed through this health system, both access to mental health resources and, of course, food is medicine. And his wife, Barbara, was a strong supporter of Dennis in all of those efforts. Barbara, in addition, was the executive director of Juneteenth, Illinois, which was something that the Deere family all supported and championed. Barbara, through Barbara's work at Juneteenth, Illinois, not only was Juneteenth recognized as a holiday, specifically through the county with Dennis's leadership, but raised awareness all across the state, and also did programming in between Juneteenth holidays to help empower young people and members of Illinois and Chicago's Black community to be able to empower themselves and give leadership training and support and access to programs that will help give them the safety and security to participate in our economy and to I don't know, just an incredible amount of things that they would do. Bill, can you do me a favor? Can you talk a little bit real quickly about Juneteenth, Illinois, and some of the work that that Barb was engaged in prior to her passing?
Yes, Chair. Thank you. Juneteenth, Illinois focused on celebrating past of the community, the exciting present around the future, and did so by focusing each year on equity, healthcare equity, both traditional and behavioral, environmental equity, and community equity. And we featured panels relative to each of those four issues, and also created a pretty robust scholarship program for students studying at the collegiate level. And I have resolved to do everything I can to keep Juneteenth, Illinois going forward, and to just support what the chair has said. Each and every day, Barbara Deere lived Galatians, as she loved and served the community. And the lesson we get from Caleb, who I got very close to, he called me uncle, I call him nephew, is that we must continue to resource behavioral and mental health care with every resource that we can receive. So with that, I hope that all of us continue to hold the Deere family in our prayers, and we'll be sure to make sure that both Kanan, who is the other twin, and his sister, Trinity, have our full support as we go forward. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Lowry, and the organization that I spend the rest of my day with, the Chicago Federation of Labor, has since Dennis first brought it to me, supported Barb's efforts at Juneteenth, Illinois, and I look forward to working with you and others, both through my role here at Cook County Health and through the CFL, to continue to support the mission of Juneteenth, food is medicine, and mental health services and awareness. Joe, did you have anything?
Well, I think you said it all, and I'm not going to tell again the story about how I met Commissioner Deere, but his death and then subsequent to the death of his wife and his son are truly tragic. I mean, we've lost a board member, but the West Side lost a leader, someone who was genuinely concerned about his community, someone that was committed to his community. He will be missed, but I'd like to think that his spirit is in this room, even though he's not here. He touched us in such a way that his spirit will live on in this room, and I'll never forget that he always answered when called upon to ask whether he was president or not. He always would say, "Deere is here," and so Deere is here in this room with us today.
Thanks, Joe. We're going to skip ahead, and we're going to just pick a number of items up. First, can we go to item 6A, which would be our monthly report on the agency reduction plan presented by Wynn Buren, our Chief Human Resources Officer, and Craig Williams, our Executive Chief Operating Officer. Craig, do you have any meetings today that, if you were late to, would put in jeopardy your?
No.
That was unfortunate. I would just hold the meeting open until you missed it. So. Go ahead.
Thank you. Craig Williams, Executive Chief Operating Officer. So this is the same slide that we present every month around our current state of agency use. You can see we're continue our same downward trend. We did have, I should note, a little bit of an uptick over the last quarter. You can see in December, January, and February. That's really, and it was really seasonality around agency. We tend to have a lot of retirements towards the end of the year, and we start to put in those requests kind of end of year, November, December, and so some of those hit. But I think we continue to have the same downward trend. I have no concern that this will continue to tick upward in any way. It's really around ensuring that we have the core staffing to support patient care, which is why, we did bring in a few more just over that period. Next slide, Debbie. Again, same trend, just different data, just in terms of by job code. Highest utilization of agency use continues to be in the clinical nurse 1. However, that is a job category that has made significant decreases with some of the work that HR has been doing around hiring fairs, as well as agency conversions. On the locum tenens utilization, we did have a small uptick, no, sorry, that's, I'm anticipating next month, sorry about that. Relatively flat, 46 FTEs within, provider, agency utilization, locum tenens. You know, small increases in the Department of Medicine for the month, as well as in,
Anesthesiology.
anesthesiology, I think we'll hit next month.
Okay.
In fact, I can't read that, I'm sorry. Yeah. Yes, that's, in March, we'll talk about anesthesiology, but we're not quite getting in on that. And that's it.
Can we go back 2 slides? So on this one, just out of curiosity, health information coder and the third-party bill follow-up representative. The third-party bill follow-up representative, would that be the Lighthouse
No.
that's the guidehouse? Oh, that's the guidehouse, okay. That's all right. Lighthouse is the calls, the call center calls, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and do those, would the call center,
No.
the call center folks in this? Okay, all right, okay, the health information management coder, which, again, these numbers are all good. You know, obviously the clinical nurse one is the highest, and that's the one we gotta, you know, we're always working down. What is the health information management coder? What jobs are those, and what contracts attached to that? Just out of curiosity.
That was also from the guidehouse contract.
That's also Guidehouse too? Okay, all right. And then, just to look at this overall, I think some other context should be provided, and this is where I give, Craig a big pat on the back. Most of these positions on here, I think it's, if I were to correct me if I'm wrong, the 2 items I just referenced are under finance. The rest of these are under hospital operations, which are like medical and direct service to our
Direct patient care, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it's really across the entire team, nursing, operations.
Yeah.
But yeah, these are all folks that are really involved in either direct patient care or supporting the patient care, like, you know, EVS workers and food service, you know. Without them, we can't service the patient volume that we have.
So when we go back one more slide. So when we're looking at this trend line, I believe that if we were to back it up to September fiscal year 23, you know, go 1 year back from this, that we would be a little bit higher than that even.
That's true.
I mean, the deployment of this did fully bake in until, I want to say, January, February of the previous year, and that's where you start to see the real sharp drop off. Everything that could be done quickly was done in that period where it fell into place, where you started to see that dramatic drop in September and October.
Yeah, I think the process improvement started like in the summer of FY24, you know, really with feedback from this committee as well as the board. You know, we didn't put things like the agency review committee in place until a little bit later, but definitely more rigor around that process. And then the other big inflection point was really in that kind of February to June, where we were actually able to convince the county to give us additional PIDs to support the true need, where we were running agency to support true patient care needs.
So, you know, obviously the work, the support from the president's office, the president's budget team, definitely appreciated. The hard work of all of our operational leads and folks on the operational team and the folks that work each individual individual hospital. Super helpful, incredible in this process, but you can't move a program like this without without team leaders. And just want to thank Eric for making this a priority. Now, there are some places where we still have some bumps, but I'm focusing on the operations, the direct patient care side, and which is where I think the lion's share of this work. And by the way, an incredible amount of progress. I mean, we still have important things to work through, but this part of it is just so immense. And Eric made it a priority, but Craig's the one who moved the program with the rest of the team. And you have to, with as complicated as an operation as this is, the reason why we got to the point where agency was overutilized was a combination of top level oversight, but also understanding what was going on the ground and making sure that everybody was being held accountable for retiring these agency positions. And so thank you, Eric, thank you, Craig. But I will also say that now the grunt work has fallen on human resources. When stepped into a process that was already in motion, and the conversion of all these positions from like literal conversions, because we have people who've taken jobs who are agency folks and converting them to full-time staff members. That between operations and human resources working hand in hand. So why don't, Craig, is this your last finance committee meeting?
I think I have like 5 more left on the calendar. I think there's at least one more, I think in early May.
It's here for May 2nd. I don't know if you guys want to we have a little bit of time right now. Where are we at with the offer letters? Are we mostly through that process now in terms of the people being converted from agency positions?
Yeah, so we've moved through that. We're now moving to accelerated hiring. One of the things we're also working on is demobilization of agencies. So we've been working closely with nursing as we convert nursing agency staff into CCH staff. We're also demobilizing, according to the settlement agreement, those nursing staff not take jobs. So some are being demobilized as we speak.
Okay. Because we talked a lot about this on the front end of the process, about how we got here. I don't know if you want to, Craig, you in particular, because you only have one meeting left. We're going to keep it light at the next one. Do you want to talk about what it took to make this shift, and how this looks relative now to the rest of the market?
What I would say, and I'm not sure you've looked lately at sort of benchmarks around agency utilization.
We've been looking for more benchmarks. They don't really exist. They don't just sit out there. Not a lot of organizations are going to share what their agency is. But from the vendors we've talked to and the consultants we've talked to, we're not much different, at least especially the initial process that got us here, where it wasn't centralized. That's a solve I think a lot of hospitals are trying to figure out. So what we've been doing is looking for ways to centralize how our agency usage is done, right? So we don't want to go to 4 different groups. We want to have one group kind of managing what that looks like.
That's real money back in our pocket too.
Absolutely.
So, Craig, you've worked other places. You're about to go run a hospital. I mean, that's what I'm looking for. Talk to us about.
What I would say is I think when I think about the hiring experience here at Cook County, a lot of really great improvement has been made. There are a lot of steps in the process for a lot of reasons that don't exist in other places, and that just drags out the acceptance and start date process. I think there's times where, I mean, really the key to getting out the remaining agents, you're getting to the bottom of this is really bringing in people from the outside and being able to execute on people on the outside, because there's so much internal process around when a job opens, who can potentially bump into that position, ultimately then when it gets open to the outside. And so being able to bring someone in from the outside, that's just a couple more steps here. And especially with some of these positions that aren't highly paid positions, that are more, that have competition across many different sectors outside of healthcare, being able to rapidly execute on converting people from the outside into jobs, I think is one thing that will continue to just challenge the organization versus other healthcare providers.
I would assume that we have, that there's a certain amount of leakage that happens with candidates in the system that have to go, we just lose people in the process because they've grabbed an offer somewhere else on the way through.
Yeah. And the other thing I'll say is, we're not alone. So I'll give a personal anecdote. My son is looking for a job and just took a job as a transporter at my wife. My wife's the president of a hospital, took a job at her hospital, much to her chagrin or excitement. And so he got the offer, and it's been 5 weeks, and he's starting finally next week. But ultimately, he, as an entry-level person into the workforce, had to navigate around getting all the clearances he needed to get done, answering the emails. Like, he ended up having to go to a competing health system to get and pay for drug screening and blood tests to start work at my wife's hospital. And she's like, I can't believe that we ever were able to hire someone from the outside. So, I think a lot of the regulatory...
Good wake-up call for her, right?
It was a real, I think she's really lighting a fire under HR at this point, but it's just, it's in the family, right? I'm sorry. But there are a lot of regulatory requirements that make it difficult for healthcare to execute on, I'd say, the $18 to $24 an hour person that is like the backbone of what we do, right? They're not the positions everyone thinks about, but without them, we have some major deficiencies in our operations. So.
Yeah. And I think Craig makes, to Craig's point about the process improvements and everything that's happened within HR since Wynn has joined. We've seen time to hire, plummet. Where was it when you started, and what is it now?
Yeah, we've been able to go from somewhere in the 120s to, on average, about 92 right now. But what we're also seeing, and we're waiting for a little bit more proof here, when we're using accelerated hiring, we're able to see those times. If we start a position strictly in accelerated hiring, time to fill on that has been below 60 days. So for those roles that we can use that process, we're encouraging our team to do that because it speeds up our hiring process exponentially. So to Craig's point, for those roles, and that's probably a similar role that we're talking about here, we don't want to have that leakage. We don't want to lose those people. So we have to make sure our teams are using the tools that are possible or that exist.
Yeah, and I've been thinking about this, and I've been looking at the trend. And so when we look at September 20, fiscal year 24, we were actually just coming out of COVID, and there was a lot of transition during COVID and a lot of nursing support that was moving out of systems, moving in between systems. And so it appears that we should consistently, at least moving forward, be at or below 10%. That should be the trend moving forward, because that's what I see. See this big line up here in September fiscal year 2024, and pretty much consistently since August we've been under 10. And so I'm assuming moving forward that unless something major happens, right, it will consistently be at that level.
Yeah, that's our goal, and our goal is to really make sure we stay below 20 in any one department. So for the most part, about 90% of the system has below 20% within it. Now, nursing being the exception, that's our largest group, and we're still working to bring that down. We'll always have an area or two that's a little bit lower in number. So if you add in 3 people, now you're, and they only had 10 total, you're at 30%. But the goal is to make sure we're down below 20% in any one department, and then this number will continue to come down as well.
Where do you guys see the opportunities with nursing in terms of continuing to work that number down?
I think right now we're going through an exercise where we're ensuring that our PIDs are matched to each agency person. right? And I think that's something that we didn't have great insight into before. I think it's really looking at like, okay, who's been here the longest, and then making sure we understand why. And that goes back to what we think I talked about earlier, what we've discussed before. We've had people here who've been here a number of years, and there's no real good reason for that. So we've made sure that we offered positions to anybody who's been here, and then should they not take those, eventually they'll be demobilized. And I think we have to continue to have hiring fairs. We have to continue to aggressively recruit and then internally promote. And I think that's what's going to help us. But I think having the controls in place as well, between Craig and his team, and then between the HR team, and then working with the different operational areas to ensure that we're bringing in agency for the right reason and not just because we just went out and wanted to bring that in. I don't think that's what anybody wants to do, but we didn't have the control mechanisms in place a year or two ago that we do now.
And I think when, in terms of nursing, right, there was a lot of work happening with settlement agreements outside of nursing, and now that that's all been worked through, you are seeing progress on nursing.
And that's why we started that at the end of last year. We saw that settlement agreement go through the last few months, and that's helped us get caught up in that area as well.
I think there's like another big reduction coming in nursing in the next report, just from some of the emails that have been flying around. So I think there's progress that continues to happen.
In the past, we've gotten down in the 90 days to hire range, so I'm expecting the more efficient that you guys are working to tackle this problem, that we're gonna hopefully soon be in the 80s, and that's what I would hope for and expect. That's gonna slow down, obviously, because there's just some things you can't build around. There's and those settlement agreements that help bring those numbers down will probably exhaust a lot of the opportunity in those, but as long as the days to hire are not interfering with us being able to fill positions, and we get the staffing transition, that's the most important part. All right, well done again, thank you. This is why I am so reticent to let you leave, Craig, because I already had like 3 more operations projects that I was talking to Eric about queued up, and now we're going to put them on hold.
There's a lot of really, really great people. There's nothing to worry about.
All right. I'd like to now take a step back and, on the agenda and go to item 5B, which is the February financials. Scott, you want to walk us through the February financials?
Good morning.
And don't feel like you have to be in a rush.
Okay. All right, I'll give the wordy version. All right, let's start with the receiving file. Scott Spencer, interim CFO for CCH. We do you want to skip the receiving file, Chair?
Pardon?
You want to skip the receiving file?
Yeah, we'll come back to that later.
Got it.
We're
Okay,
going to go right
right
to the financials.
Gotcha. All right.
We're mixing it up today.
Yeah. Keeping me on my toes. All right. So through the first quarter of the year, we are 34 million unfavorable to budget. The drivers are largely the same as they have been. So net patient service revenue unfavorable to budget, just under 6%. And as we look in the next couple of slides, we'll get into the breakdown between the provider side and the health plan side. But a couple of things to point out there, that county care capitation remains favorable to budget. And then the membership, almost 4% greater than budget. Membership coming in at just under 384,000. So on slide 3, we have the combined income statement. So both the provider side and the health plan side. coming at a loss of 38 million, so 36 million unfavorable budget. And as I mentioned, the adjusted NPSR, or net patient service revenue, unfavorable. So when we add in the governmental support, so the DISH dollars to the net patient service revenue, total net patient service revenue unfavorable by just over 1%. And then, as I mentioned, capitation revenue favorable to budget, just under 4%. So total revenues favorable, just under 2.5%. Excuse me. The operating expenses unfavorable to budget, 5%, driven mostly by the medical claims expense from the health plan. So again, in total, $38 million loss. But on the next slide, you'll see how that breaks down between the provider side and the health plan side. With the provider side coming in at a net income of just under 7 million, which is in that range of 2 to 3% of total revenues. So it's an improvement from last month when we were about 1.8 million operating loss. But again, within that 2 to 3% of total revenues. So not a swing, but or sorry, not a wild swing, but a swing nonetheless. And then the health plan coming in at the operating loss of, the net loss of 45 million. So slide 5, which shows, here we like to highlight the favorable and unfavorable drivers. So we've got the governmental support and the capitation and our purchase services expense being the favorable drivers there. And then the net patient service revenue and the medical claims expense on the health plan being the unfavorable drivers. On slide 6, our key volume and revenue indicators. So a couple things to highlight there. So generally speaking, volumes, soft in a few areas. However, Stroger discharges continue to improve as the year progresses. We are short on ER visits at Stroger and Provident, though favorable to budget in terms of surgeries at Stroger, and better than last year, and the same at Provident. The ACHN, which is the outpatient visits at our outpatient clinics, primary care and specialty care, unfavorable budget. However, dealing with some leaves and vacations, providers, and some pockets of no-shows throughout the network. Though just to point out that the specialty care about 5% better than a year ago. So our operating trends on slide 7. So not much to highlight here, other than volumes overall have been relatively steady over the past 6 years. Payer mix, slide 8. We did Medicaid increased by 0.1%, uncompensated increased by 0.2%. So not much of a change hanging in, Medicaid hanging in there pretty well for the month of February. And just wanted to highlight that the uncompensated care at 25.2, approximately half of that is attributable to charity care, and the remainder in the bad debt category. So a follow-up from last month. The next couple of slides. So these slides will likely get I guess I call it an update, or will change in the coming months as we kind of level set with things that are happening within the revenue cycle. But for now, we'll highlight that AR days higher than we like them to be. There was a claims processing delay that now has been mostly resolved. Now being, second week of April, and we're getting close to being able to divulge the March numbers. But that, as I mentioned, that issue is largely resolved. And then cash collections a little bit better than we would anticipate. And then denials. So again, a slide that will most likely change in the coming months. However, for now, just presenting that the denials are largely headed in the right direction. Excuse me. And that was slide 10. So now moving to slide 11.
Before you move on,
Yes.
that CMI surgical, there seems to be missing data. There are lines that are not there.
Yeah, you're on slide 9.
Right.
Yeah, we'll fix that. There's for some reason it's not missing data. It's just for some reason the line didn't come through on the slide. So on slide 11, our charitable and public program expenditures. So projecting at this point 700 million, so 20 million more than we budgeted, with the main drivers there, of course, being the charity care and the bad debt. Slide 12. So really just wanted to highlight the fiscal resilience project that's specific to the health plan, 18 million of the 100 million at this point in time. And then we've locked in, based on our run rate on the agency expense that we're seeing, locking in about a quarter of the 40 million that we took out of the budget for fiscal 26. And if we continue the run rate that we've seen thus far, we should come in at about 95 million, which is would actually exceed that target. And then last but not least, the county care income statement on slide 13, which has the operating loss of 42 million compared to the budgeted loss of 10 million. And again, the health plan continuing to right size and grapple with the medical loss ratio that's run higher than budget as of late. So I'll pause there and see if you have any questions I can answer.
Are there any questions for Scott? Hearing none, thank you, Scott. Why don't you go, while we have you there,
Okay.
let's do the grant award related items.
Okay.
And I'd like to note for the record that we take a pause that we, Director Robinson has joined us, and we now have a quorum. And since we have a quorum, I would like to have a motion to allow Commissioner Lowry to remotely participate in the meeting as a voting member. So motion's made. Is there a second? Second. Motion's been made and properly seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. All right. Bill, you're official.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Scott, why don't you do those financials? The grant award related items,
Okay. All right.
Debbie will pull them up on the screen.
So yeah, we've got the receive and file report for the month of April. So we've got 6 items for a total of 1,438,247, and all 6 of these items fall under the executive sponsor, Mark Spranka.
All right. Any questions on the grant award related items? Hearing none, is there a motion to receive and file item 5A, the grant award related items?
So moved.
Motion's been made. Is there a second? Second. Motion's been made and properly seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. All right, we're now going to move to the March 5th, 2026 Finance Committee meeting minutes. So we're going back to the agenda. These were approved at the April 10th board meeting, but are being presented for the committee's review and discussion if necessary. Are there any corrections needed to be made to these minutes? Any corrections? Any corrections? Hearing none, is there a motion to accept item 3A, the March 5th, 2026 Finance Committee meeting minutes?
So moved.
Motion's been made. Is there a second? Second. Motion's been made and properly seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. We're now going to move to items under the Chief Procurement Officer. Approaching the plate is Charles. Charles Jones is our Chief Procurement Officer. Charles, you have a total of 14 items. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
All right. Do you have a preamble to that before
Yes,
we take the
yes,
first
sir.
one?
Again, good morning, Charles Jones, Chief Procurement Officer for CCH. We have 14 items before you today for your consideration. All 14 require responsive letters from the Office of the Business Enterprise Development. We have 11 back with 3 in progress. Thank you.
All right. So our first item is the Cook County Department of Public Health, being presented by Dr. Kiran Joshi, our Chief Operating Officer of the Health Department. Kiran, are you online?
I am. Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Directors. This contract is a contract with Simpar on the order of $420,000. This is a 3-year contract with 2 one-year extensions. Contract is for community immunization services, including supporting vaccination clinics in the schools, in the community, pop-up events, and of course for emergency preparedness purposes in the event of an outbreak or public health emergency. This contract was procured using comparable government procurement, essentially piggybacking on a similar IDPH contract. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Kiran before we let him go? Hearing none. Thank you, Kiran. We're going to go to request number 2, Health Plan Services, being presented by Aaron Galiner, our Chief Administrative Officer for Health Plan Services.
Morning, Directors. This item before you is a request for a new 3-year contract as a result of an RFP. It's a 1-year extension from an initial 3-year contract that was a result of an RFP. Total dollar amount is $550,000. This is for our HEDIS Data and Reporting Services Center. Sorry, just a correction. An increase to the current contract. It's not a 1-year extension.
All right, great. Any questions for Aaron? Hearing none. Thank you, Aaron. And I'm noticing you're wearing a pair of Adidas made popular by one of my favorite groups from the 80s, Run DMC. So thank you. We're now going to move on to a clinical item being presented by our Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Lauren Smith.
Good morning, Director.
Morning.
Yes. I'm presenting an execute contract with Pixemeter, and this is a sole source purchase, not for a 36-month period, ending April 30th, 2029, not to exceed the amount of $326,804. And this vendor offers a platform that will be used with our burn patients for documentation of wounds.
Any questions for Dr. Smith? Hearing none. Thank you, Dr. Smith. We're now going to move to request number 4 through 5, equity and inclusion, being presented by Charles Direct Supervisor Shannon Andrews, our Chief Equity and Inclusion Officer.
Saw how you lit up
Let's
about
watch the
that.
body language here.
Yeah, I was going to say, you saw how you lit up about that. Good morning, Shannon Andrews, Chief Equity and Inclusion Officer, and if I, with some grace and permission, could have a moment to personally say on behalf of the Equity and Inclusion Department how dearly Barbara Deere will be missed. As recently as February of this year, she participated in a panel discussion for Black History Month along with myself and Commissioner Scott. And she was such a joy and so enthusiastic about continuing to support the work that we do related to food as medicine. She was very intimately engaged with ensuring that we kept our eye on the prize as it relates to MWBE participation. And we will miss her dearly and her support of all of the work that we do. With that said, I will move on to my first item. It is a request to increase the contract with In His Hands Resource Center. They provide housing navigation services for Cook County Health patients experiencing housing insecurity. This is an ARPA-funded additional dollars of $145,000 that will allow some continued work as we scale down the work that was funded by ARPA. The second item is a request to extend and increase a contract with IPA1, doing business as Med1. They are linen control. They're a surgical scrubs provider. This contract will increase by $975,816 and will take us through January of 2029. This vendor provides a automated surgical scrub distribution and inventory management system at both Stroger and Provident hospitals.
Any questions for Angela? And just thank you for your comments about Barbara. She was recently receiving an award as a leader in the West Side community. They're doing an event over in Drury Lane. Just the unexpected nature and the motion which she was still moving at the time of her death. This was someone who was leading her community right up until the last moment.
A quick question. I've noticed over time that we have a lot of vendors that seem to come from Utah. Is there a reason why?
I don't know anything specifically about Utah. Charles, do you have any insight on Utah specifically as a state doing business with us?
Yeah. No, just the fact that lately we have two Med1s for our leasing of equipment, our Alaris pumps and our Scrub-X. So we brought those back a couple times over the last several months. So probably the same vendor in Utah. I may feel like it's okay. Yeah, I just didn't know if they had a push to produce medical devices or something, because I used to live in Utah, so it catches my attention when I see the different locations. Yeah. And I was just curious if they had a spike, because I found it unusual that the name pops up so often across town. No, not in this case, they're a leasing company.
Well, just anecdotally, why don't you, after the meeting, just track the vendors and see if there is, if it's just reoccurring people that are popping up, or if there's any particular Utah trend, just out of curiosity.
All right. Yeah, I'm not trying to create work. That was just.
That shouldn't take too long. All right, thank you, Angie.
Thank you.
Or did I, Shannon? Okay, Angela, next on the list is also follow. Sorry for that. In fact, Angela's at the table, so.
That's okay.
Our chief
I don't mind being
information
called
officer,
Miss Andrews.
I got everybody on my mind.
I know.
I realized that I must have said something wrong, because I saw a quick giggle from everybody, and I didn't have an intentional joke at that point.
Yeah.
If I did, nobody would be laughing. So.
That's why you need your vice chair next to you.
This is a request to extend and increase the contract for Konica, which provides our multifunctional devices. We have issued an RFP or very well into that process. This request will allow us to continue critical operations while we process through that award.
Any questions for Angela? Hearing none, thank you.
Thank you.
So we're going to now go to request number 7 through 10. Craig Williams, our Executive Chief Operating Officer.
Thank you. First contract I have is for ABM Healthcare. It's an extended increased contract for $1.4 million. 12-month contract extension, 5/1/26 through 4/30/27. And they provide the shuttle bus that takes staff from the JTDC garage and Stroger campus. Stericycle is an extended increased contract for $780,000. It's a 12-month extension, 4/1/26 through 3/31/27. And they provide waste removal for hazardous shops and pharmaceutical waste throughout the system. Tenant Sales and Services Company is an extended increased contract for $100,000, 12-month contract extension, 5/1/26 to 4/30/27, and they are the maintenance and supply contractor for all of our floor cleaning machinery. And the last one is Gensler, and this is an amended increased contract for $348,000 through the remainder of this contract, which expires 5/31/27. They're doing programming and design services regarding a renovation of the core center that we're doing through our capital improvement program.
Any questions on any of those items? Hearing none, thank you, Craig. Thank you. Our last set, Stroger Hospital, being presented by Donica Austin Cathy, our Stroger Hospital Chief Hospital Executive.
Thank you so much, and good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Donica Austin Cathy, Chief Hospital Executive for Stroger. First one before you is an extend and execute contract with Global Imaging Specialists. This is for remote diagnostic radiology services in the amount not to exceed $2,400,000. The revised contract period of 2/2/2026 through 2/1/2027. The vendor shall provide remote radiologist interpretation services to support the diagnostic imaging operations. These services include the professional review and interpretation of the radiology studies in order to timely and accurate reporting of our imaging results for patients. Next, we have an execute contract with GE Precision Healthcare. This is for digital radiographic systems and accessories in the amount not to exceed $1,028,407.62. This is a one-time capital purchase. The vendor will provide 3 digital radiographic systems, accessories, installation at Stroger. The contract is being funded via Cook County Health lease line of credit. And next, we have an execute contract, again, with GE Precision Healthcare. This is for the X-ray systems and accessories, as well as the next level console, ultrasound systems and accessories, in the amount not to exceed $749,181.84. This is a grant-funded amount. One-time capital purchase for 2 X-ray systems and next-level console ultrasound systems for use at Arlington Heights Health Center. And the last one is an execute contract with INO Therapeutics for pharmaceutical nitric oxide for inhalation therapy in the amount not to exceed $720,000. Contract period 9/1/2026 through 8/31/2029. The vendor will provide inhaled nitric oxide, pharmaceutical-grade gases, and patient delivery systems necessary to perform inhalation therapy. These therapies are used in the departments of pulmonary, critical care, neonatal, and respiratory care medicine.
All right. Any questions for Donica? Hearing none, thank you. Anything else, Charles?
No, sir, there's no emergency purchase.
Is there a motion to approve item 4A, contracts procurement items containing request number 1 through 14, subject to the completion of review by contract compliance?
So moved.
Motion's been made. Is there a second? Second. Motion's been made and properly seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
The ayes have it. All right.
Thank you.
We don't have any emergency purchases being presented today. We already covered the grant award related items. I think you're good.
Thank you.
We did the financials and the agency report. So with that, am I missing anything? Huh? Nope. Got it all? Okay. We've exhausted the agenda. We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
All right.
Starting late, getting it done.